Okay, cool. Everything seems to be working, which is rare in the circumstance of rock and roll, but let's fucking do this. Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of the motherfuckers who checked that out, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it and welcome back. Whatever, this isn't even how I normally do this intro, but for those of you who are new to the show, welcome. Please feel free to make yourselves at home, and as always, there's beer and soda and hard sparkling water in the motherfucking fridge. Cheers, let's crack these bitches open and fucking do this.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, this is what's up.
Campesy.
I'm joined here today in the motherfucking house by the one and only Derider. Word. So hey, say hello to the internet, my friends.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
I enjoy your content.
You got it. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, let's turn that fucking theme music off. You know what I'm saying? We don't need that. Jesus.
You didn't
I didn't hear. I didn't hear.
Yeah, Tim can't
I told you you're going to be without headphones. That's a perfect way to announce. As you could tell, we
was a boing.
We got 4 people, 4 guests in the house today, all of Derider, which is the most people have had in the space thus far.
Wow.
We have 2 people sharing a microphone, 1 person without headphones. This is really crazy. So what we need to do to start this conversation is I'm going to just kind of do like a quick round table, have everybody introduce themselves so you can get familiar with their lovely voices. And then we'll chat about rock and roll and Pittsburgh and, you know, alcohol and sandwiches and stuff. So let's start to the left of me. I got my friend Cormac. So introduce yourself. Let the people know what you sound like on the internet.
Wow, is it different from regular life? Oh, I should just change my voice. Oh, it's too late now. Fuck. Fuck's sake.
What do you do in the band there, buddy?
I play guitar and I don't sleep enough.
Okay, cool.
As one does.
Groovy.
Yeah.
I'm Margot Van Hoyt, and I play bass and sing. Yeah. I sleep. I probably also sleep the most. In like awkward places.
Always in the most awkward places.
Yeah.
On stairs.
Yeah.
In front of doors.
Yeah.
In front of doors? That seems inconvenient.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty.
I'm Sean Klochek. I play the drums, and I probably sleep the second most, but like a reasonable amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
Normal times.
Oh, should I like do this guy? Like, hi.
Yeah, that would help, but
hi.
it's okay if you don't.
I'm Tim. My name's Tim, and I play guitar and some keyboard things, and I've never slept before in my life. So who needs it? It's just like
Definitely you.
Yeah. It's just like dying for short amounts of time.
Yeah. So before we get too off the rails and, you know, fall into a pit of depravity and immaturity,
There were rails?
you have an album coming out.
Right.
Which is like, I guess, the main reason we're here. So for anybody that can't stomach more than 5 minutes of this, at least you know that this band has an album coming out. You're doing your record release party on August 30th at Spirit. What can you tell me about this Bad Mama Jamma?
Well, it's an event. It happens at night. There's gonna be bands. Rave on Me is playing.
Oh, okay.
Sleeping Witch and Saturn and Harkin. Oh yeah, and also Buck.
Yeah, and
and
DJ
and
Buck.
Buck.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Stefan Lopez.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
So what is the album called? And, you know, what can people expect from this release that's going to change the face of our current civilization?
Wow.
Okay. Just jumped right in there. Jeez, I don't even know how to address that. It's called You Became the Ground. And it's real raucous. Some slappers, some bangers, a couple rippers.
At least one jammer.
Yeah, one jammer,
One jammer
for sure.
at least.
Oh, at least probably more.
Yeah.
Probably
At
like
least
2 or 3
2 more.
genres, Yeah.
I should have prepared.
No, it's totally cool because, like, to be completely honest, I think that the response that you have to that question is the response that any decent human being should have to a question like that. I feel like I would be actually way more uncomfortable if you had a prepared answer.
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of a discussion of, which is really interesting in art right now, or music, whatever, in terms of taking things seriously, but not too seriously, and that fine line. It's like a tightrope of, being a musician. And now with social media and having to use the internet to get people to go out to shows and have to be this like somewhat of a business person unintentionally.
Oh yeah.
It's like this really weird dynamic because I got into art because I didn't like talking to people, but now I completely have to talk to people all the time. And I started a podcast to try to learn how to talk to people better, and I'm still not very good at it. But hey, thanks, thanks, Henry. Appreciate it. You're helping me out, bro.
It's a Henry.
But and it makes things really awkward. So when being asked questions like that and feeling like you're put in this position where like your art always has to be more than what it is. It's like, why can't we just be a rock band? Why can't we just play fucking songs? Why does everything have to be this fucking brand, if you will? Like, do you feel that Derider is a brand?
I mean,
it's a smell.
I kind of feel like anything that like
if you took the R away,
the R away?
Yeah.
Just deride.
Oh,
no. Well, if you took the R out of brand.
That's fair.
Damn.
I kind of feel like with art, like at any point when you attach a label to it, it like has a sort of like inherent meaning to it, or like the sort of like greater than what it is kind of definition. And just like having to explain that is so,
I think it defeats the point of it.
It's contradictory for sure.
Like if I could explain what the music was doing, I would just do that.
Yeah,
and
you
not
wouldn't
play
have to
the
write
music.
it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's not how it works.
Mm-hmm. I think like especially like we're all not good at stage banter.
Sure.
Well, I think it's just that, like also that constant being surrounded by social media and like just sort of feeling like you're marketing and shaping something all the time. I mean, if you look at our Instagram, it's kind of just mostly really dumb memes and or just absurd things that are incomprehensible that we post on it. I think a lot of that is just sort of trying to undercut that element as well, because it's not something that we want to do. But it's also necessary in some way.
It's so that's the fucking problem now, is that whether you want it to be or not, it's totally necessary. And you have to have all of these things, like this fucking masturbatory band bio and all this shit. It's just like,
oh, that was hard
what?
to write.
Like, it's a fucking nightmare. Do you have a band bio? Did you write it yourselves? How'd that go?
Yeah, Sean was like masturbated with that.
The resident scholar of writing, I undertook that. But no, it's hard. So I'm the band's third drummer, and this album has songs that are written with previous drummers as well. So like a lot of that was like, how should I describe this? How should I describe that? Like,
right.
It's kind of hard to like write a narrative of like what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's like one of those things where if you don't do it, you just get like, it seems like you get kind of left behind, but you really don't.
Yeah.
I think it just depends on like your personal perception and how involved in a particular scene you want to be. I mean, obviously you're getting together on some form of a regular basis and you're writing music together and you're playing shows. So you're doing the band thing enough, right? Yeah. But like, what is like a long-term goal, I should say, for Derider? Is this like we fucking want to take this to the top, or like, hey, we just want to be friends and make rock music, and like, that's it.
I mean, it's not really a binary situation.
Yeah, that's something we talk about a lot too, and it changes.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Like, I think it's a lot of times it feels really naive to just go out and be like, we are going to take over the world. I'm going to drop this album and it's going to fuck all your brains up. But at the same time, like, you don't want to just be like, oh, all I'm doing is just playing music with friends. Like, I don't really have any aspirations. Like, I think we all would like to see the project go somewhere. But at the bottom of it, it's mostly about making stuff that you care about with people you care about.
Yeah, it's like a hanging out with your friends professionionally.
Yeah.
It's
Getting
a really
it's
a
getting
super
not
weird
paid to hang
dynamic.
out with your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scheduled hangouts.
It's like being an adult, scheduled hangouts.
So
And I think part of it too is not necessarily like the destination of where we want to go or like what our goals exactly are, but a lot of it I think is like protecting the process that I think drew us together and kept us together, and keeping that like healthy and or at least like explorative and open with each other.
Yeah. So let's chat about that, because I don't really know any of you all that super well. I'm not really too big on the origin stories of bands, but like a brief, just quick synopsis of like, how did Derider get to riding?
interesting phrasing.
Well,
The name, like, actually, like, I was in a really weird place in my life. I was like working at a fucking Macy's, like Ross Park Mall. I was just like an hour and 45
What
minute
department,
bus
bro?
ride. Young men's.
I got this shirt from there. Man, I don't even know this.
Yeah. And I was like,
these are the hot facts dropping.
yeah, I'm giving away too much information. And I keep some cards close to my chest. So it was like one day I was just like really depressed. It was like downtown waiting for a bus that came once an hour. And like one pulled up that was not my bus. And it just said ride. And the word Derider like stood out. And I was like,
Oh.
that's interesting. I want to keep that in my back pocket. Like, I don't think I was in a band at the time. And I was like, I'm going to be in a band at some point. And then our first drummer, Fallon, we worked together at a juice place. And
Shout out to Juice.
yo, shout out to Juice. That shit is dope. Yeah, we would just like, we would leave there at like 2:30 and get day drunk and just go in my basement and like just fuck around. And like, I mean, like, it was like kind of like a given that we were gonna play, and like Tim hopped on and just like we like had like our first practice and like wrote like just a really fucked up song. And yeah, I don't know. It was just like, I totally lost my train of thought.
It's all good.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like kept doing it and did some tours and wrote some songs in a fucking hot ass storage unit in Etna. And we had an intricate system of box fans. It was not enough.
Well, it was like 2.
I thought it was like 4.
Yeah.
No, it was like 2.
Yo, climate control is a myth.
Yeah, we say they advertise their climate control.
Oh, yeah.
The saying is climate control is a myth. But it actually is really cold there now most of the time.
Yeah. It's like kind of
Surprisingly.
too cold.
But it used to not be.
Yeah.
So with the beginning phases of Derider to where Derider is now getting ready to release a new album, what has changed within the music of the project? Have you felt like any sort of an evolution, any big stylistic changes? I mean, you could have been like a Limp Bizkit cover band when you started, for all I know.
I'm kind of surprised we're not at that point.
Yeah. I mean, when you're talking about
we would have
long-term
called
goals,
ourselves, we would have called ourselves Blood Fart.
Yeah.
Which was apparently that was like one of the
that was-
names that they were
yeah.
supposed to choose. Like that was on the table
Oh,
along
wow.
with Limp Bizkit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I
Also,
hate to
what
say
I'd
it, but they made the right choice.
I appreciate the facts. You
Yeah.
never know. One day, New Metal Jeopardy might be.
Oh.
That
be,
sounds like an
actually.
event.
New metal jacket.
Oh, man.
Holy
Everybody
shit.
loses.
It can happen
Yeah.
right after emo night or whatever.
Holy
There's like
shit.
an emo brunch at the Smiling Moose
Yeah.
that I heard about.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think it has that right after.
Yeah. No, I don't want it to have anything to do with that. We didn't get along in high school. We're not going to get along now, motherfuckers.
That's
Um,
fair.
But whenever Derider started, or before the name was applied, whenever you were starting to write music together, what kind of stuff were you doing, and how is it different or similar to what you're doing now?
I feel like we've like kind of always like okay, so
It's definitely gotten a lot weirder.
it's gotten a lot weirder. Like
Mm.
we just keep buying things and like keep incorporating it. And so like Tim's keyboard setup is just heavy bonkers.
What does a guy
Buttons
say?
and knobs and things.
Yeah, buttons and
Bleeps
knobs.
and boots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
once the last show we played with Harkin, the sound guy just like walked up and was like, "Oh, what's this happy horse shit?"
He did say that.
That dude
Yeah.
is fucking awesome.
Yeah,
Like,
that guy was-
I love that guy.
Yeah.
He was so good.
I've been working that into my regular lexicon
Yeah.
of catchphrases because I just speak in catchphrases.
As one does.
As one does. So I'm saying. That one too.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake. That one too.
That one too.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like this kind of like goes back to like just sort of like describing art in like any capacity. Just like how do you do that?
Totally,
And, like,
totally.
The easiest thing for me at least is always just like we're like kind of shoegazy Sonic Youth. It's like I saw Sonic Youth when I was like 14 and it just ruined my life in a really good way. So that's like personally for me, that's always there. Sonic Youth and Elliott Smith.
Got
It's
it.
like,
That
yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, there's sometimes there are bands that, start out as like mediocre ska bands and turn out to be, one of the biggest hardcore bands in the world. Shout outs to our friends in Code Orange. But that's the fact. You never know. Like whenever bands start out, sometimes it's like these like it's something completely different that one ends up clicking in for them. And then other times you just have, we know what we want to do. This is what we're into. And then you just start with that. And then that's what you build upon.
Yeah, I think too, like, we all have sort of like disparate and also similar influences, I feel.
Mhm.
Like we're kind of like all over the map and like we can do a lot of different things. And I think we try to like explore as many things as possible.
Without
and-
getting off brand.
Yeah, no, gotta stay on brand. Yeah, I think, just, I feel like making concerted efforts is like not really something. I mean, it's definitely not something that has crossed my mind as far as like what kind of art I want to be involved in.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah. You just do the thing that you do.
yeah, you just,
Yeah. I think you should make the music that you would want to listen to.
yeah,
Right?
Mhm.
yeah. Somebody, I was talking to somebody, and they were like, they had the argument just like, yeah, like make the thing that you're not seeing or not hearing or like whatever, and just make that real. Like create this lacking that you're feeling exists in the world.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. I mean, it's like, you just try your best to do what is most truthful to yourself.
Totally.
And, yeah.
I think that it's really hard to do anything with passion that's going to attract other people if it's not anything that you genuinely care about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's probably arguments that could be made about some air quote musicians that exist in the world. And this is an interesting topic if we want to get into like a brief curmudgeon, a brief curmudgeon subject
Sure.
or time frame here or discussion. So you are, for, all genres aside, fucking, shoegaze, whatever. Fuck all that. You're a rock band, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
The current state of rock music, how do you all feel individually about like what is considered modern rock? Are you like, it's whatever, that's just what the kids like? Or do you feel like an old grump about Imagine Dragons being a popular rock band or 21 Pilots being a rock band?
I think this also goes back to just kind of like the discussion about branding, where like the shit just doesn't mean anything anymore. Like indie rock used to mean that things were independently produced, and then it was just like a weird subset of pop music.
Okay.
And I don't know. Rock is a way bigger umbrella than that. I think there's a lot of good stuff happening still, and I think there's a lot of shitty stuff happening too. But that umbrella is bigger, so it's like all under there.
That's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've been saying this a lot recently, but like Spotify stations are like definitely the new top 40. Like, like virtually every like hip business I go into, like it's like the same shit that I listen to like at my job, and it's just like, it's like the internet is really interesting in that way. It's like there's a lot of exposure to like more like literally indie stuff, and like more like underground stuff that just like, it'll show up on Spotify radio, and just like, I may have not known about it, but they're playing at my venue, and it was like, oh shit, this is a thing. What? So it's like I feel like the landscape of how people are exposing themselves to music is definitely changing. And like, I actually don't know what's really like mainstream anymore. It's like, I'm having such a hard time differentiating between like what is like traditionally mainstream and like what's getting played on like, radio stations that are like seemingly 5 to 10 decibels louder than every other radio station. And shout out DV. And like just like smaller bands, like comparatively, that just like come on Spotify stations, because I feel like the exposure is like still like kind of the same. But yeah, it's just like a different medium, and I feel like this sort of like this shift into more like internet music culture, which I'm actually like I totally support. I feel like radio is more or less outdated. That's just like what you do when like your phone is dead or you run out of CDs, which also shout out to CDs.
I like the access to technology with the internet, and I think it's awesome to be like, hey, have you heard this new, Billy and the Blue Balls album yet? And I'm like,
damn, that's solid.
Like, yeah, I heard that, but Joey over here hasn't heard it, and I could just 2 clicks send it to him, and he has the whole fucking thing. That's really cool. The thing that bums me out about the internet and internet music, I guess, would be, oh, this boy's getting a drink or something. What are you doing?
Yeah,
just bring that whole thing over here. Just bring it over here. Mm-hmm. The thing that really rubs.
No shame. It's my Friday.
You have to keep those in your lap the whole time, bro.
Well,
The thing that bugs me is how the main platforms where everybody goes to, like your Facebook or your Instagram, which are the same thing, Twitter, all that stuff. I hate how like there isn't an individual or subdivided platform for art or music. So it's like everybody's getting their music feed, wrangled up with, a Levi's ad or an ad for Permane Brothers or an ad for Coca-Cola. Like it's all mixed in the same. So the perception gets thrown off for people that aren't aware, like say about Derider's art. It's like everything's become a numbers game. So it's like Derider's new album's coming out, and like somebody random like come across it on Instagram, and it's like, oh cool, their album's coming out, and like, 20 people have engaged with this, cool. And it's right next to, you know, a Coca-Cola ad or some other big thing. Like it's all in the same pot. So like it's not really given a fair chance to like, there's not a place where people go like, oh, I want to listen to music. I'm in the mood to find new music. So I'm going to go to this music thing for underground music.
But yeah, I guess it would be more like blogs like that.
But I don't think there's any.
Not like
There
a
are
social
definitely
media
blogs
platform.
and there are curated Spotify playlists and things like that. But I think the amount of like just
They require a little more dedication.
they require
for
more
people to
dedication. Most of
get
the
to.
people that know about blogs are, let's be real, musicians that are trying to get on them.
Yeah.
You know,
You're
like,
not wrong.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
So I think like over the past decade, the thing that's gotten the most fucked up about trying to be an independent musician is that disconnect from people that aren't musicians. Like only people that really keep up with it are people that are also just trying to keep up with it.
Yeah, and I guess
Or-
that kind of reflects like a larger theme of social media just creating bubbles that people live in, right? Like,
Yeah. And it just makes it super hard. So I don't know what to do. I don't know. I
Get rid of
I've
your social
recent-
media.
get rid of social. I've been pretty good about not paying too much attention to it recently, which it seems to be doing me more of a disservice than a service. But
Interesting. Yeah.
I think that might just be in my head at the same time. So it's kind of a pain in the ass because like I miss out on a lot of things, and there's always that FOMO, fear of missing out thing that's in the back of my head. Yeah. But for the most part, the way I'm trying to live my life these days is just like whatever's happened to me in the moment, cool. And if I happen to have an extra 5 minutes to post a picture on Instagram, I'll do it. But feeling like contractually obligated to myself to post to Instagram X amount of times a week or a day,
time consuming.
that sounds insane.
I can't keep up with it. Like,
Is that what we're supposed to be doing?
That's what some
I mean,
What?
it is like a whole game for sure. And I think like, I don't know, I'm just so tired in general. Like I find it like
You
so
need to sleep
hard.
less.
Well, it's like I mean, like,
it would be so much easier if I just didn't have to sleep.
I agree
sake.
with you 100%. Fuck sleep.
Yeah.
But there's so many people that are like, oh, you know, when you playing a show? Oh, we just played on Friday. Like, oh, I would have known. I didn't see anything about it. Well, we posted. I didn't see anything about it. And then at the same time, those same people will be like, oh yeah, I had to unfollow so-and-so because they're posting too much. And
Oh,
it's like, how do you
Yeah, there's definitely a catch 22
Yeah,
there.
it's like,
yeah.
how do you get in the right frame? And I find the only way to do it, like in a healthy situation, is to actually just go out and always be around people face to face.
Yeah.
Or just
Yeah.
like
Right,
text people.
yeah.
No, totally.
Don't hit them
yeah.
up on shitty Facebook Messenger or something like that. Just
Yeah.
like, hey, I mean, granted, that's how we were communicating earlier.
mean,
So
yeah.
anyways, you gotta do what you gotta do. But,
Shout out Facebook, stop spying on me.
the just connecting with people face to face and telling people about things. That's really all you can do.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anybody's going to come
Mm.
or whatever, but it's a lot better than just blindly inviting somebody to your show on
Yeah.
Facebook
Yeah.
at fucking 11:30 at night.
Yeah.
I think that like that's what anytime I get an event for something, it'll always be like, oh, like my phone goes off and it's like we're like driving or doing in the middle of something else.
Mhm.
And then by the time I even have a chance to check it, it's like built up with, you know, a half dozen other silly things. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you know, well, I got to
Makes
take a
sense,
shower. I got to take out the garbage. And then, you know, I'm looking at my phone at the end, like, oh, whatever. And then it just gets overlooked. It's like not an efficient way to tell somebody about something important.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my phone got hella broken this week. Like it is just not functioning in any capacity. And it's been kind of nice. It was like, I was like hanging out with a coworker today and she was like, what have you been doing? I was like, I've just been staring. Like, seriously. Just smoking a cigarette. I was like, man, fucking concrete's weird.
Well, it's weird. Like if you ride the bus and you like don't look at your phone and you look around,
yeah.
everybody else is on their phones, and then like you start to feel weird because you're not doing that.
Yeah. Oh, there's like a weird peer pressure to
Yeah.
it. Like,
It's like
I actually kind of
who's this fucking creep not looking at his phone?
Yeah,
you know?
this fucking
Yeah.
serial
Because then
killer.
people like look up
Yeah.
when he gets off the bus.
especially if like people look up and like they see that you're just like watching them be totally immersed in their phone and they like
Even though they're probably watching other people.
Yeah, doing something else. Like,
Yo, that's
On
why
their
you
phone.
low key just have like the camera up, so it looks like.
maybe that's it. Yeah, I'll just observe the world through my phone. I'll live in like my own virtual reality dystopian future.
We're already there.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Things are crazy.
Yeah.
But getting into this conversation of, connecting with other people face to face. I've had a really interesting dialogue recently with some other bands about the way they interact with each other face to face. Is Derider friends outside of the band and band practice? Do you do things together outside of these
Yeah, absolutely.
circumstances?
Oh, yeah.
What
For
are some of
sure.
the things that you do to maintain a friendship?
Well, a bunch of us used to live together.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that. We all lived in a house that was mostly not a house.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
It's
was
accurate.
very much under construction at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like lately we haven't been able to see each other as much as we used to.
Yeah.
This is very much just lately because we've been working or moving or something like that. But one of the things we used to do the most was probably cook dinner together.
Oh, yeah. The family
Yeah, we'd have
dinners
family dinner.
every Sunday.
I'm really interested in this. Your boy loves food. So
Oh.
let's just say, I'm not trying to impose. I'm not imposing myself. But I'm saying, let's say you invite your boy Sykes
Oh,
to
yeah.
a Derider family
Okay.
dinner.
Yeah.
What might
Yeah.
I expect to see on the menu?
Something really weird.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Let's fucking
Well,
talk about it.
I mean, usually like it ends. We just
What's the worst? I'm trying to think of the worst thing I've ever made.
Yeah.
Some things don't go well.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
we never like really plan those things. It's very
No.
much just like what's in the fridge, what's
Yeah,
about to
like
expire.
Curry, a lot of curries.
Curries.
Okay.
Usually,
one
like-
time we made steaks for Brett's birthday and we all fell asleep from the meat sweats.
Oh yeah,
It was like meat coma.
yeah.
Heavy meat sweats.
Usually, like if I end up chopping something, I'll forget that I'm holding a knife and almost kill half the people there by like wildly gesticulating while I'm talking. So I actually didn't even know I did that until I saw you just like looking at me once, like just like looking at me, like what are you doing? And I was like, dude, you're just waving a knife in my face. Sorry.
That's real.
Or like how you start a grill. Or were you starting the grill or were you starting the barrel fire?
It was the barrel of fire. Also, in this house, there was just a barrel that had fire in it.
We'd hang out with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hang out by the fire.
The starter was just a cardboard box full of just burning paper.
Oh,
That was lit
Oh, that was
inside.
Rick.
That was Rick.
Oh, I
Yes.
thought that
and
was-
you nearly caught your mom on fire.
That's
true. Would have been the end of Core Mom.
Core Mom was in the
Mom.
mix.
Shout out to Core Mom.
Shout
Was
out
that
Love you,
before or
Wendy.
after we shotgunned the beer?
I don't know.
Probably during.
Cormac's mom can out party all of us.
Yeah.
It's true.
And has out partied
That
all
is
of
true.
us
Yeah.
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 consistently.
Sorry, Mom.
That's fucking killer. Shout outs to mom.
I love my mom.
Oh yeah.
So I think that that's really cool because I think that there's an issue with, I mean, it's not obviously an obligation for bands to hang out, but there's a different dynamic that I can tell. Like I could already tell that the four of you hang out outside of band practice and that you have a relationship that extends beyond the band versus talking with other bands that I could tell, don't really hang out, whether it's because they live on different sides of town or because it's like some weird like Craigslist hodgepodge of a band,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think it's really important to have that relationship just so you understand the energy that everybody's bringing to the table on like a weekly basis. Because sometimes, somebody might have some negative shit going on and that can like leak into the band. And if you don't know what's going on, everybody's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck's wrong with Tim this week? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I'd say it's
Oh
not
no,
even,
that
it's not
definitely
even a
happens
leak.
with all of us. Like,
Of course, you're fucking human.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Yeah.
happen, but
Yeah.
it's so crucial to know what's going on and
yeah.
understand that because it could really affect the art and like the band on like a really detrimental way if those discussions don't happen.
Yeah.
I've been in one band in particular where we didn't have that and the band didn't last very long as a result because it was just that everything was just so disconnected. And it was so weird. I felt like, we made really good music together, but none of us really knew each other.
Ah.
It was strange.
Yeah.
But it was like one of those situations like where like we were friends and then like we grew apart as the band was a thing. which I guess like adults. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It's life.
Yeah.
Being an adult.
But it's really important, I think, for a band or just people in general to be transparent and communicate and all those things, especially if you're trying to do something as like intimate as like create art together. That's intense. It's really, really intense.
It's a conversation without words.
Yeah.
Like for sure. And like, I mean, you know, we're all like pretty intensely emotional people. And like, you know, like this is like my support system. Like I love y'all. Also, I love y'all.
We love you back.
Me too.
I'm getting sentimental here. Yeah, like, you know, you know, my professional life is like intensely social. And it's like, so like, I just like need to just like get the fuck away sometimes. And it's like, you know, y'all are like people that I just like always like talk to, text, and like, just like, check out this stupid fucking thing that I just had to do.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know,
I think like playing in a band with people is also really interesting because I can't think of that many other activities where you spend like, I don't know, we practice like somewhere between 3 and 5 hours and you hardly say anything to each other because you're making loud noise the whole time. Which, that's if you don't like hang out with each other outside of that just automatically creates a really weird circumstance.
Yeah.
yeah,
It is really, really strange. Just not having that dynamic of really knowing what's going on with each other and then getting together and expecting to create something like really beautiful and have this discussion with each other when you don't even know like what'd you do this week? Like, you know, how's your kid? How's what, you know, like whatever the circle, like what is like, so like usually like that's the really convenient thing about like the bands that I'm in now. It's always like a get together, like, you know, order a pizza, open up a beer, hang out, chat, practice for a bit, play some video, do all the dumb shit. It's like, it's almost like a 30% work, 70% bullshit. But like, it's totally cool. It works for us. And like, we're all happy and can go to bed at the end of the night, I think, with like a positive feel on everything. And I think that should be the end goal, really, at least for me.
I think it's funny because I'm pretty sure like our productivity at practice is probably directly linked to how much we've seen each other in the past like week or so, because we haven't really seen each other. Most of the practice is just been us like all hanging out together.
Yeah, totally.
So like, but if we've like been hanging out a bunch like prior to that, then we'll just like stroll in and just play.
Just do the damn thing.
Do the damn thing.
Yeah. And like I don't think I could possibly like exist in a band that didn't have like some sort of like emotional attachment to it. Like it's like, you know, like music has always for me been, for lack of a better term, like a crutch, and like something that like I just this pain in the ass thing that I need to do.
Or we're talking about like, you know, the creative drive and why it's done.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Intention is really interesting in that way.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess that's like, sometimes it's like, sometimes there's like a goal or at least like a vague idea of what you want to accomplish. And like,
and then I would say the other like half the time it's like, you know, that's somewhere there, but you use the process to identify it.
Yeah.
The
process.
I had noticed that like when I started playing with y'all, like I'd show up at practice and we'd spend like sometimes like 20 to 40 minutes just kind of like noodling around and playing at the beginning of practice, which is something I like never did with other bands. And it was just like a way of like sort of like reaching out. Well, like not as regularly. Before like we even like talked about what we were gonna do or anything, like we just started playing without talking about it. And that was like, I think a cool way of like just like figuring out what your intention is sometimes. Like you like
Or
pull
where
it
everyone's
out of the
at.
material.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, playing it first. Yeah, we've written some really cool stuff that like nobody will ever hear again, including
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we'll like be playing a bit later. It's like, what was that one thing we were doing earlier?
the thing.
I don't know.
So there's a lot of just fuck
I
if
think-
I know.
Yeah.
I think there's a beauty in that. And I try to remind myself about that. Like it's okay as a creator to just make stuff for yourself or for,
Oh yeah, it's like
I
there's
feel
something
like
that's just very
with-
ephemeral too.
Or just
With-
creating ephemera. Yeah.
with the internet and how easy it is to just put things out, I feel like there's a part of me that feels like every little thing I do needs to be released. You know what I mean? Like, oh, look at me, I'm playing keyboards. Let's film a video of the wave files and post it on my Instagram story so everybody knows that I'm still relevant. No, fuck, really? I'm still relevant. I don't think anybody really cares. And like I'm trying to like shake that. And it's like, I mean, there's things that we do, the band or just myself working on stuff. And it's like, whatever, like this is for me. Cool.
Mhm.
Fuck it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And that's like, I mean, that's also like, is art inherently self-serving? Which like, my only answer is like yes and no. Like,
Whenever that question comes up, like whenever someone starts talking about art or the purpose of it, I just always think of that Oscar Wilde quote, which is "All art is quite useless." And like,
yeah,
like anytime someone's like starts going into like, oh, art and what does it mean and all, it's just like, don't have this conversation.
Yeah.
This is the dumbest
That-
fucking conversation you could have.
Yeah.
Just do it.
That goes back to my point at the beginning of the conversation when it was like, I'm glad that you didn't really have a solid answer for the
Yeah.
question. It's,
I mean,
it's a lot more human.
that
honestly.
that also felt like kind of like a sociopath test.
Congratulations.
Cool, I'm not a sociopath. Well, let's have a drink. Fuck.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
actually,
I need one.
I'm actually empty. So
right.
you want to re-up
Yeah.
your boy over here? I was gonna
Fucking right.
grab a beer, but you know what?
Oh,
I've already
yeah.
had enough beer,
Yeah.
so maybe we'll do another water real quick.
Sure.
And while I'm opening this up, before I forget, speaking of how all this negativity of social media, regardless of you listening to a podcast right now on the internet,
The irony
that
is
you
nuts.
probably found out about through Facebook or Instagram. Why don't you tell everybody where people can find Derider on the internet?
We're currently setting up a scavenger hunt.
We're just gonna hide in various places.
Yeah.
Actually, like internet scavenger hunt would be kind of cool.
Oh, an internet scavenger
Yeah.
hunt. I
That
was
sounds
thinking
like
of,
some dark web shit.
That does sound like some dark web shit.
Yo,
Let's get into the dark. What are you doing in 2019? I'm getting real into the dark web.
Yeah.
shout out Ben Tavis.
Yeah, shut up. Blockchain. Yeah. A friend of ours is very into blockchain. Technology.
We all got one. We all got one of
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
friends. Trust me, it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
It's cool.
There's those bar rants.
Diversity is what makes the world beautiful, I guess, right?
Yeah, it really does.
That's one does.
Back to the question.
Oh yeah,
We do have a band camp. You know,
Sean's
you can
good
search
at
for
it.
that. We're on Instagram. I think it's
Yeah,
Derider
band camp Instagram.
PGH.
Derider
Yeah.
PGH on the gram.
Yeah, I think everywhere Derider PGH is a thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think do we have a Twitter?
We do.
We
I don't
did.
think
I
we've
just
ever used it.
disabled
Every
the
band has a
millions
Twitter,
of
no
notifications
band
y'all
uses
been
it.
getting at the
Yeah.
email for
Twitter.
years.
I hate Twitter.
Every band has a Twitter. No bands that I know use it. It's so
Yeah.
fucking funny.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it's a weird environment. I'm not interested in it, to be completely honest
Yeah,
with you.
same.
I'm pretty sure I like posted like a couple months ago, and it just said like, "Oh yeah, I hate this," and I got one like,
Nice.
which is more than usual.
Tight.
Yeah.
Tight.
Hell yeah.
I could tell you this. If you want to succeed on social media, just be incredibly negative.
Like trolling.
Whether
Is that
it's
what it's
trolling,
called?
it could be
Is that
like
what the
I
kids are
hate
saying?
you.
Or just like
It could be I hate you, I hate myself, I hate Pop Tarts,
Mhm.
I hate white shoes, I hate black socks, whatever. Just say you hate something.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
that you'll
Do you have to preface it with hot take?
Hot take.
Hot take.
Hot take seems a little bit too sensitive. Like you don't want to just be very
Just straight
abrasive.
up. Yeah.
Being
TFW.
I'm being fully sarcastic. I don't want anybody out there to do it, but I have noticed it does seem like a lot of people just gravitate towards that
Yeah.
negativity because I think that
I'd be interested
That's-
to like run an algorithm that analyzes like those sorts of words, like, you know, like hate or good or bad, or like sort of like breaks them
Well,
out and like
to be-
identifies the general like flavor of social media, I guess.
it's
you would
to
say.
be completely transparent. It's honestly, it's just extremes because
It
I can
is,
post a
yeah.
picture with my girlfriend that's like all wholesome and shit, and a lot of people will like that too. People like things that are like extremely wholesome or extremely hateful.
Or faces.
Yeah.
People also
Yeah.
really like
And I think-
faces.
Mhm.
Actually, what's really interesting about just like network theory in general is that it naturally polarizes. So this isn't even like specific to social media. This is just about how networks function. And social media is like,
We didn't tell you he's like a huge nerd.
No, keep it going. Keep it going.
well,
Yeah,
no,
wait,
serious.
yeah,
this
Actually,
almost-
honestly.
This almost sounds like we're having a real podcast now.
Oh yeah.
but no, like
for
yeah,
coming to my
they
table.
Lay your
naturally-
network theory on me,
yeah,
bro.
they naturally polarize and or create polarized groups, I should say,
Yeah.
based on the structure, because it's all like it's like reinforcement learning essentially. Where if you
Right.
go down a certain path, you're also in the future more likely to go down that certain path. So like if you think about like in the brain, like the neuron, it's like neuroplasticity. Or if you keep on doing something, your brain eventually like makes those pathways easier to access. And the same with networks, which the brain is just a huge network.
Yeah.
But once you like, you know, if you start really like going off about black socks and you're like, man, goddamn, those black socks are terrible. Like, you know, like green socks are much better. Like you're going to naturally start creating a bubble around yourself of green sock loving folks. And, you know, that's going to be your world.
And that's how societies are formed.
Right. And that
Yeah,
world
basically.
that world will be also flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all flat earthers.
Oh, yeah.
And anti-vax. Oh, no.
Goes right
No,
up.
not even go. I
Dangerous
can't
territory.
even say that in jest. That's actually like one case where I'm like, okay, like censorship is a really difficult topic to get into because there are some things where I'm like people posting like really bigoted, racist or homophobic things, for instance. I'm just like, you shouldn't be allowed to say that. But also like if you start censoring people, that just opens up a huge can of worms.
Right.
I want people to say things like that so I know who they
You know,
are.
yeah, I was about
That's
to
also
say
a good
that, like,
point, yeah.
you
Good
said that
filter.
you still,
Yeah.
even what you said about like creating the bubble around the like-minded people, it's like,
Mhm.
it's
'Cause I feel like
dangerous in a way, but it's also, I think, scarier when that's like underground and more hidden.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot. I feel like if we're gonna get into this topic, which I guess we're going to,
Yeah.
it's
As one does.
I feel
That's what it
that
does.
it's a lot better to let that stuff exist so you know where it's coming from and ignore it rather than trying to, I guess, like, you know, like silence it or deplatform it or whatever like that, because then
Yeah.
regardless of what side it is, whenever you try to tell somebody they can't do something, they're just going to do it louder. And I feel like it
or in a more like
amplifies the
insidious
situation.
way.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost like by you, like, you know, telling them like, I don't know how to word this, but I feel like it like validates their thing
Right.
in a way
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
just ignoring it.
Well, it makes them martyrs for a
Yeah,
cause.
yeah.
They
Kind
shouldn't
of like the
even have, you know?
yeah, like the like glorifying like a serial killer or a bomber or something like that,
Yeah.
you know.
For
But
sure.
it's hard to put like one definite yes or no, this is how you should react in this situation to anything, because there's so much nuance depending on every situation.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I
the,
don't-
the internet makes things really weird though. Just
Yeah.
talking about in terms of the internet and who should be able to like make a post on Twitter about a certain thing. I feel like if I feel like if I can see like if I could see a wiener on Twitter, I should be able to, you know, somebody should be able to post like whatever dumb shit they want to post. And then if you want to interact with them or not, that's up to you as an adult. You
Right.
know, like whether or not like, hey, you know, this person's a piece of shit. We're not going to interact with them, put them on blast. But taking it away from saying like, hey, you can't be a piece of shit on this platform. That doesn't seem like fair.
I don't know.
Even though I don't want to be fair to those people. I don't know. What do you think?
I feel like sometimes like ignoring things. It means everyone has their own a choice of whether to do it or not. I don't know if engaging with that on the internet, like through that way of talk, like of trying to like change somebody's mind about something or confront them about something, is that effective. But I do think that engaging in actual conversation with people that think differently than you and like have these issues that are really greatly affecting people is still super, super important, because that's what's been lacking, I think, is like people being exposed to the things that they're afraid of and dehumanizing and all of that. So, but I also don't. So it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, you can find people who disagree with you or agree with you through things like the internet. And there's so much content out there and a lot of exposure. But I also think that it can be overwhelming, and it's like really hard to have a genuine human interaction and that will actually change someone in that way. But maybe you could use it to like get together with them in like a safer space or like in a common space in the world and really like do something like this. Like if we were having a phone interview, it would probably feel very different than
totally,
why I
us
don't
being
do
in a
phone
room.
interviews. It's like impossible to connect. And I think before, when I think I said the word ignore, I don't think I necessarily meant like ignore it in terms of convincing yourself
not
that it doesn't
engaged.
exist.
Is that
I think I just meant more like, like as an adult or as a human being, you have a choice. Like, it's your decision who you decide to interact with.
Yeah.
Like on Facebook and things like that. People are always like, I'm going to delete my account. I can't take all this stuff anymore. It's like, you choose who you're friends with.
Yeah.
You either accept that, your friends are assholes or you delete them.
Right.
That's one or the other. You don't have to
Great guy.
remove yourself from the situation.
Yeah.
Real good guy. Total fucking scumbag. Love it.
But with the internet and having all of these, it's again, this is another thing of just going back to just being in a band. It's like we're trying to promote our art in the same exact platform that all this other noise is going on in.
It's a marketplace that's also a sewer that's also like a wrestling arena. It's
but that's
weird.
also why we play shows. Like we're also a band that mostly plays live and doesn't have a ton on the internet or it doesn't do a ton of like social marketing. But we used to, I think we'd rather like, instead of like having like a digital media supervisor or something like that, I think we'd rather just like go on tour a bunch and meet people that way and be in different cities and other bands. And
I think face to face, we've said it a few times already in this conversation, but that's really, really important. Just having those moments where you can lock in with people and you actually get to know what's going on with somebody if you're talking to them person to person versus trying to have a discussion with somebody about anything on the internet is so impossible.
Yeah, because face to face is like definitely way more difficult than like if you have this literally a screen in front of you, or just like it's like so much less personal. But like you have to, I feel like face to face conversations, you kind of have to like. I don't want to say like censor yourself, but like you have to be more thoughtful about the language that you use.
There's just nuance in body language.
I disagree with you there because I would say like I could say something that maybe I hadn't like completely fresh out of my mind, but like based on like my body language or the way I'm saying it or the tone of my voice, you could intuitively pick up on what I'm trying to express.
Right.
But if you receive that text with no context, without those like social cues around it, but what I'm saying, like my intent, my meaning could be construed as something totally different.
Oh yeah.
So I like
it's harder to communicate like truthfully, but easier to be an asshole. On I think that's what we're saying. Like there are all these other cues and like this humanity.
I always think about you ever are communicating with somebody, like organizing plans with somebody through text message. And it's just like, you're in the middle of doing something. You just respond like, okay. And it's like, oh, like what the fuck? Like what did that was okay mean? It's like
There's a period after it too. What the hell did I do wrong?
You know,
Yeah.
So it's like if those sort of things, if something that small can get read wrong,
Sure.
Yeah.
you know, that when you're talking about like a much more complex situation, it's really easy for the details to get read wrong or misinterpreted. And I've always been really fascinated with the way, going back to my negativity on the internet, how say, for example, if you're at a restaurant and you get really good service, do you ever feel compelled to go on Yelp and write like a really good review? I'm not saying that. I'm not taking any of you as like negative Yelp reviewers, but
also a platform called Nelp.
Yeah, but no. But I feel like if you have a bad experience, it's like who can I call? Who can I complain about this? But if something really good happens,
it's true. It doesn't get recorded.
A lot of people tend to keep that to themselves. So there's this thing whenever something negative's happening where you want to share it with the world so you can relate with other people that have had that similar negative experience and maybe get some sort of like, I don't know, just like
I wonder if it's
validation for the negativity. And it's really, really strange.
1-star Yelp reviews are like a really guilty pleasure of mine.
Oh,
like I
awesome.
love them so much. They're just like so ridiculous. And sometimes the places are just like so outlandish. And I'm just like, you know, they're probably right, but it's just like, this sounds so funny. And I kind of want to go there.
I really
like the review of the dump. Calling it a dump. It was like legit. Like, remember you read that Yelp review of the dump near your house?
Oh, also
they're like, this place is a total dump.
What is it
It
called?
was a negative
not called
review.
a dump. It's called
the Reserve Park or something.
The Reserve
like that.
Park environmental
park.
And it's a land.
It's a total dump.
It's a dump.
Yeah. Trash cemetery.
Yeah.
I really like reading 1-star reviews on Sweetwater.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's probably amazing.
Yeah. There unfortunately isn't a way to just like dig into it, but like I browse gear a lot just because that's my like, rather than like filtering through Instagram or Facebook at the end of the night, I'm like, oh, let's look at expensive shit I don't need.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, that's fair.
I just got a voicemail and an email from Jake the other day. Or shout out to Jake or Marshall.
Marshall.
I guess, so many calls. Just like
hey, it's Jason in Sweetwater. We shipped out your headphone in, buddy.
You know, I need to call them back because I just broke a ride symbol I bought from them.
I think I do just want to call him back and just like talk about life.
Yo,
so
we should get the Sweetwater team on the podcast.
oh my God. Yeah.
Should we call us?
I'm gonna order a bunch of gear. and
Eat
just
all
go,
the
like,
candy they send you, get hopped up on sugar.
Yeah. That sounds awesome.
They send you shitty stuff like Smarties and Cowtails.
It's like,
Just kidding. I like
Do you think
candy.
anybody's ever sent them anything back? We should send them a care package back.
Like toothbrushes.
You can get stuff. I love that.
I mean, honestly,
As
yeah.
someone who like my only Christmas gift this year was
Toothbrush-
chapstick and toothpaste from my mom.
We need to send them. We need to
Thanks,
send them
Mom.
a case of fucking Henry's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh. I still
we've been trying to get
Henry's.
sponsored by
Oh, yeah.
old granddad
Shout-outs
for
to
Oh
those.
yeah.
years.
We actually I was like going back.
So
to when we
obviously,
started.
I feel like. I mean, obviously, I'm sitting here with people that I think that are on the hard sparkling water thing. Like, when did you find out about this movement, and how are you feeling about it?
I remember
internet?
when I found out about it, which was after going to see Sir at Gooski's, and
Shout out, sir.
shout out to Sir.
Who will never watch this?
Yeah, he will never
No,
see
you
this.
might listen to it.
might listen to it. Yeah. But I remember because I remember like we were talking about it with April, and she was like, "Yeah, just try one. Like they're great." And like apparently she like walked down to the end of the bar and walked back, and I was like, "That was pretty good." And she's like, "You drank that in like 8 minutes. You should probably not like have another one because you're gonna get drunk really fast." And I was like, "That's a good idea. I'll just take it there."
Do you know anybody that has gotten drunk specifically off of sparkling waters?
Yo, let me tell you
Yeah.
about Truly wine.
Oh,
It is a Truly and box wine.
Okay, so that's a cheat code. Well, I'm talking.
Oh, actually, no.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't
They're
even.
always like they're always in the mix.
I'm
They're
curious.
never going solo.
I feel
Yeah.
like it would be a fun experiment to actually try to get drunk off of these.
I
and
mean, you
find
totally
out.
could. Like, it's.
There's
find
some
out.
that are like 8. Oh, never mind.
There's
I'm
some
thinking
that
of
are
the
strong. Some of the
slushies
Trulies are like 6 or 7%.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, this is like
It's
4.2%, which is like your average domestic
Yeah.
beer.
I feel like you need to figure out how many normal beers, like how many PBRs you would need to get drunk, which I guess is probably also a good question.
How many
About
ounces
30.
And then how many of these we would
30.
need.
Depends on whether Tim ate today.
Yeah, it does-
Did you eat today?
Tim forgets to eat.
Yo, shout outs real quick to El
Yeah.
Burro. I went to El Burro right before we recorded this.
Yeah.
And like I have a huge, dense chunk of burrito in my stomach right now. So that's probably a
Ooh.
big part of the reason why I'm like, whatever.
But it's like crowd surfing on a sea of bubbles.
Yeah.
Cells of
The
Sea
little burrito
Henry's.
baby.
Like, woo!
But I
Just wrap
am
me up in your
I
warm
am really
beads.
curious if anybody out there is listening
Long
or
story.
is, that's into this shit. If you let me know if you've gotten drunk off of one of these. Ooh, this is
One
topical.
or several.
drunk off of drinking just
Like
just
specifically
that, right.
sparkling water in an evening.
Yeah.
Nothing
Well,
else.
We should probably set up a controlled experiment.
It probably should. It's
Yeah.
the only ethical
It's the
way.
only-
Yeah.
it's the only
Yeah,
way.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm down if y'all are down.
With the control
Yeah.
being
Well,
like trying to get drunk off
You
liqueur.
start sober
you start
and you get a
sober.
bunch of this bullshit and you drink it
Yeah.
Cool.
and see what happens.
What are y'all doing later?
Well, I mean, we're kind of doing that right
I have
now.
to go to Target
true,
and get green
actually.
socks.
Yeah, that's the thing now. Shit.
Um,
Hashtag green socks.
Real
Yeah.
quick, I'm gonna have a sidestep to chat with you real quick. So yesterday I had for first time, I don't know if any of you have had this yet. Speaking of alternative alcohol, the PBR hard coffee.
Oh,
yeah, we were just talking
shit.
about
We were
that.
just talking about that.
I
Yeah.
have not.
Has
but I've
anybody
seen
here
it.
had the PBR hard coffee?
I haven't had
No.
a full one, but I tried to sip it and it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
It's also a really appealing color. I just like the packaging. I love.
Yeah.
I like.
I had a whole.
I just
was
like things that are
appalled when I
brown.
saw it. I thought it was coffee and beer, and that sounds like the worst. Like
It's
also
not-
like
what
the
is
most
it then?
digestive injustice you could do to yourself.
So what
Yeah,
is it?
Sure.
Digestive.
There are a lot of breweries that do
Yeah.
good coffee ales.
Did you like coffee stouts?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
I
not
don't-
what
I-
it is.
No.
No, it's. I
No.
think it's
I'm
just,
gonna. Hang on.
School me.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna let you know what the fuck you're dealing with.
Take me to hell.
But I was expecting it to be like a coffee lager or something, like
Right.
Mhm.
because it's marketed as PBR,
Yeah.
Right.
but it's essentially like. Have you ever had like one of those Starbucks double
Yeah,
shots?
that's what
in
we're
a
saying.
can?
It's exactly like that.
Or like
Yeah.
like the Monster Energy Java drinks.
Mhm.
It's like that and a Four
Whoa.
Loco put together.
Oh my god.
So there's like
Yeah.
malt liquor in the mix, or there's malt liquor?
Oh, that's right. Because that's what
It's
happened with
just
Four
like-
Loco,
it's
right?
like
They had to
something-
take out the
Yeah.
caffeine.
Where like it tastes like that like
Yeah.
shitty like Starbucks double shot. A lot of people I posted a picture on Facebook and everybody was like, it tastes like you who I love, and I'm like, okay, you
I've
fucking
heard
children.
Chocolate drink.
Yeah.
But I mean that's fine. Like I don't have any beef. Whatever anybody finds Julian, that's fine. I'm not one of these people that's gonna shit on your parade. But I didn't like it very much. But it really just threw me off because it is like it's like a coffee it's milky.
Yeah.
milk,
And it has milk in it.
Yeah, and
I believe.
it's literally like just one of those like canned Starbucks gas station drinks, but
Yeah.
with some like a little sprinkle of supposedly alcohol in it.
Mm.
It just
Wow.
made me feel bloated.
I
I
can't
don't
believe
know.
that. I feel like
I didn't think it was
love
that
it.
bad. It's not like a
Oh.
thing that I would like to drink, but it didn't offend me the way that I thought it was. Like I went into it like, all right, it's gonna be awful.
I feel like that would be terrible to like throw up though.
Oh, totally.
Well, that's the thing.
know.
My question now, honestly, is like, okay, so easily like a normal beer, I could drink a good bit of beer. So I could drink a good bit of like, some rum and cokes or whatever. Like I cannot imagine drinking more than one of those PBR hard coffees.
Oh,
and I
no.
would love to meet
Yeah.
anybody that's drank like more than 2 or 3 of those fucking
Well,
things.
I
Yeah,
would say
right.
that like maybe as hi Mike, as an episode on this podcast, you do both experiments. We have how many Trulies or Henrys or whatever these things are, sparkling
hard sodas.
alcohols
Yeah.
to get drunk, and then you have someone else on the other side of the table that's just slamming PBR coffee. And you have the paramedics in the hallway, and their heart fucking explodes.
Real quick, shout outs to previous podcast guests and friends in the band Back Alley Sound. According to that thread up yesterday, it seemed like that whole crew was very heavy on the PBR hard coffee. So I think I'm going to get Derider and Back Alley Sound in the house. They're going to represent PBR hard coffee.
Hell yeah.
Let's
do.
sparkling
Cheers.
waters.
Yeah,
Let's
cheers.
do.
And, we'll just see.
Sean, do you need to sing?
I do need a thing.
We'll see what the fuck happens.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Alcohol.
This one's weird. I don't
You
like
know,
this one.
one's okay.
Which one's that? Strawberry?
Strawberry kiwi.
You know what?
Grapefruit.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but the lemon lime reminded me of a pork chop.
What?
I don't know why
I don't
either.
know.
That's bizarre.
And now I'm just thinking about the show Lamb Chop.
Oh.
Remember like
Oh,
the
yeah.
tiny
Oh,
lamb?
yeah.
the thing. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure I had
Oh
this
my
stuffed
gosh. Did I
animal.
tell you guys about the opera? I went to the opera.
Right.
And it was two operas that Fred Rogers had wrote
Really?
and were being
Huh.
performed by the Pittsburgh Opera Company.
Oh.
And it was like this and of course everyone's like, like talking about how great of a guy Fred Rogers was. And he seems to be one of the few people that's like, as a celebrity, has yet to have anything come out that's like damning about them. He just seems to be actually unbelievably a genuinely good human, which is just weird.
People hate that.
yeah.
It's weird, strange.
But they were very interesting. So definitely recommend. You can probably find like YouTube videos or something. Of
Are
those
they in
operas.
English?
Oh, because
That's an
operas.
odd
I'm
question.
sorry. Why would they not be?
It should be.
A lot of operas are
They should be.
not
They should
in
be
English.
the Yinzer opera.
Oh
Yeah.
my.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Aw.
Nice to see you.
Oh dang.
Before we wrap up the episode, we've been going over an hour. I do want to throw in some listener questions. We like to have listener questions that get submitted to the show. They're not for Derider specifically, but just goofy people in the scene like to ask goofy questions, and it's
Right.
always fun.
Okay.
So I'm gonna pull up Facebook here on the TV here.
Okay.
We have some good questions from some good people.
Ah.
That's actually, where did it go? Goofed up. There it is. All right, so we're actually gonna do Brenda's question here.
Hi,
Shout out to
Brenda.
Brenda.
We love you,
Because I feel like
Brenda.
she asked a really, really fun question here. So
Okay.
Most challenging.
shout outs to Brenda from the band
Hell
Old
yeah.
Game.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Brenda asks, most challenging task as a kindergartner?
Not being cross-eyed.
Ooh.
That actually
Yeah.
was my most.
We shouldn't laugh at that.
Well,
Put it-
I forgot about that though. So
Oh, I used to have glasses. I was
Yeah?
as a kindergartner. I was cross-eyed as fuck,
Whoa.
and then I got glasses, and then I blew those glasses up, and my eyes were fixed.
That was your own personal most challenging. Wait,
Yes.
okay.
That was the task.
What was your most challenging task?
Oh, the thing that came to mind was just putting all the toys back after like recess at like half day kindergarten. Nobody wanted to do that. We didn't do that well.
yeah, no, that absolutely not.
Mine was definitely trying to express myself through show and tell without making myself incredibly more ostracized.
Wow.
The short version of the story is my great grandfather was a rock hunter and like collected rocks and things like that. And he had a
Rock
lot
hunter?
of but like that's the like
That
the
is
cool term.
Fucking.
I
He's
also
just
remember
like-
whenever you were moving, like someone was joking, like, "What are
What
these
is this, a box
boxes
of
full
rocks?"
rocks?"
And it
you're
was-
like,
it was a box.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the box. Of rocks.
Goose rocks.
I have a lot of his collection, and some of it is like petrified feces, which has I forget the names like propylite or something. I forget.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm gonna bring this in, show kids like how cool poop can be, but like when it becomes a rock and you can touch it.
Yeah,
and
that's
then,
that's not the kindergarten move, right?
yeah, no, it wasn't, but I thought it was great. And then when everybody laughed at me for holding poop, I was just like, I'll show them that's not really poop anymore and you can lick it. And then I licked the poop. It was a rock. And then I was, till this day, the girl who licked,
Cheers to
who
you.
licked poop.
Fucking
The
right.
girl who licked
Cheers.
poop.
Henry.
Without a dragon
Oh,
tattoo.
Henry.
Oh, keep asking me, Henry.
Yeah, so show and tell was my greatest, most challenging task.
Format.
Yeah.
Damn.
What you got?
Fuck. I guess the only thing I can really think of is remembering my own birthday, which is probably reasonable at that age, I think.
Yeah.
Oh.
Facebook notifications.
Hello.
Get that out of there.
Yeah.
So I'm like neglecting to really even want to say this out loud, but it's not that bad. It reflects more poorly on the people that I went to school with. But the first thing that comes to mind, I guess a nice way of saying it would be socializing. The school that I went to in the neighborhood that I grew up in wasn't very great. And I went to in kindergarten, first grade, but specifically kindergarten, some terrible kids. And like, I just couldn't get along with everybody. And there would be this thing where every day when we would do bathroom break, there was this group of kids that would intentionally piss on the radiators.
Oh.
Whoa.
That's a
And because
scent.
I wouldn't piss on the radiators, like I wasn't cool.
You weren't
So every time I think about kindergarten now, I think about those kids pissing on the radiators, and like there's like a very familiar scent. It's not the best, friendly story in the world. But yeah, my most challenging task as a kindergartner, I guess, was just, I don't know, just trying to understand what the fuck was going on with other kids. It didn't make any sense. Like I didn't really even have like legitimate friends until probably 6th or 7th grade. And then even at that point, like I'd moved into a different school district. So I had that like that cool kid from a new school thing in my pocket, and then it worked out.
Je ne sais quoi.
Yeah. But yeah,
Je ne sais le quoi.
the early
Je ne sais le quoi?
Okay. Looping back.
Well, looping back, we'll end this on something just a little bit more, we'll say grounded and serious.
That's fair.
There's a common thread. This was most recently I had posted just something like, yo, I need some listener questions, and people had dropped a bunch of stuff. And a common thread that's in here, actually, we'll stop on David from Pet Clinic. A lot of people were asking about success. You had Jonna here. What do you consider success? David here, define success. A lot of people, what is success? Success, success, success. And I think these are questions coming from friends of ours that, you know, are hardworking people in the scene, and I can understand that mentality of like, what is success? And for me, I would say that it is just, by recently, I mean the past couple years, I've kind of stopped sweating so much, feeling like I'm not accomplishing things, even if there's only, 20 people coming out to a show, or if only I'm getting, 100 downloads on an album or some shit like that. Because outside of like the selfishness of art, because how important is art, as we had talked about, it's like, well, I have a job that I enjoy doing, and I have like a family and people that I care about, and a home that I work hard to live in. Like, not trying to sound like all like corny and hallmarky and plateau, like, like settling, but like I've worked hard for a long time to get these things, and like life's pretty cool. So to me, that feels successful. So I kind of define success as just being happy at the end of the day, knowing that I worked for what I did and I accomplished something. And then tomorrow I have an opportunity to just make it even cooler. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah.
What about y'all?
I would say I'll take that one first if that's okay.
Yeah,
I've been thinking about
Yeah.
I think about this a lot in my life and in and outside of Derider, but I think especially with Derider, it's been feeling confident in and safe, like in your own path and how you want to do things, and that you feel like you're continually growing with the people around you and as a person, and like, but also like how being able to be reflective on that and actually being able to change and have more control over how you change those things and what you want to do. And I feel like that's what I've enjoyed the most about how we've developed as people, as friends, and as in a band. So I feel like it's similar to what we were talking earlier about it not necessarily being about a destination, but like what the path that you're on, and how you feel about it. And if you feel like it's one that you feel good about.
Totally. And if you don't feel good about it, or if something's not going how you want it to go, I don't know. I don't want to, maybe in some aspects, kind of like taking some responsibility for that and asking yourself like, okay, like what exactly don't I like about this? Figuring out those problems and then figuring out what you need to do to work on that.
Right. Because everybody has different milestones, and it's like, I think our society has built these like certain events that happen with like a career or just like at a certain point of your life or at a certain age. And that's just not the case for everybody.
Or
For most people.
Going back to talking about like Instagram and shit like that, you know, like comparing yourself to other people, like, you know, you have your little post of your little band. It has its little likes next to, you know, so and so, and it's like, oh, I guess what I'm doing is completely worthless. It's like, no, it's not worthless if it means something to you and the people around you. I feel like the internet has made us. It's like these like superficial bubbles of like what we should aspire to be, and then we neglect the things that are like right in front of us and our immediate friends and family. I think
that's a very divisive tactic though.
Nobody's like meant to like you can't possibly manage having hundreds or thousands of friends, but we all have hundreds of friends on Facebook.
I think
it's
the number
unrealistic.
is like, is what, like 155 is actually the amount. There's a number. There's a specific number of people that you can actually. This is true. It's like true in humans and primates.
Of course you know this.
I forget if it's 55 or 155.
Might be. I would imagine it might even be 55.
I think it's 55.
That sounds reasonable.
But there's like that's the amount of people that you can actually basically give a shit about. To put it in
that seems like a lot.
Yeah,
that does seem like a lot too.
People.
Yeah,
hey, you know,
yeah, but like to me, I'm
limit.
just like,
yeah.
This guy's the limit. He's 56.
I mean, can't drive 55.
Oh my god.
I had to. Fuck's sake.
Hell yeah. So, anybody else have anything they kind of want to talk about in terms of defining success?
I think just like the subjectivity of that is like it's too subjective to really, in my mind, like put an actual like concrete definition on like you said it really well, and like all of that is really like valid, but like in a way it just like it changes so much from person to person. Like there's no
like surely you could pick out some common threads.
Yeah,
like it's
probably
it's generally successful if you're still like, you know, alive.
I think it's like
I mean,
like,
joy.
Like, it seems like just like genuine joy.
Yeah, I think it might be
success
just
so tied to happiness. That's the thing.
I don't
think necessary.
No.
Okay.
Everyone's like, no.
Well,
okay, but maybe
it should be. Like, I feel like kind of the problem with it is that success seems to be such an external concept. Like, it is about like validating yourself in the eyes of others when like, you know, maybe it really should be more about personal happiness. And so like that kind of gets muddied because even when you're like trying to say like, what do I want to do? Like in answering like defined success, like answering what you want to do and what would make you happy, you're still thinking like, but is that success really?
I think that there could be a problem just in general with the word success.
Yeah, right.
Because there are some people that even once they get what they wanted, they're just on to the next thing. They don't even take the time to appreciate what they have. It would be like a good analogy of that would be like me as a record collector.
Right.
I buy a record and it's like, cool. And instead of me being like, cool, I have this record, I'm going to go buy another one. And then 10 records later, it's like, you know, it's just never enough. It's like you just keep wanting, it's always on to the next. And then it gets to a point like I am now where I have a pile of records that I've never even listened to.
Yeah.
That's real.
You know, and it's like, okay, it's like, what am I doing? You know, is this
right?
Like,
well, then does the collector become the hoarder? Like, is there a fine line?
Or even not even going that extreme. It's like, what happened to just being a record listener?
Yeah.
Versus being, it's like I'm literally just a record collector at this point.
Yeah.
I'm not anything else.
It almost just seems like success is a weird like offshoot of like capitalism.
I
have to define yourself in a certain kind of like consumerist behavior in order to work with that.
Totally.
I really dislike the word success, I think, actually. Like aside like success, I just feel like
marinating in this word for a while. Like
hell yeah.
Let's
hang out. What's up?
What's up?
But yeah, I feel like like when it comes to like smaller tests, more like just like more like narrow objectives, I feel like success is like that word actually means something to me.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
in like a more like abstract sense, success means absolutely nothing to me.
Well, I was thinking about that, and like, yeah, definitely. Like, the more specific you are, the easier it is, for sure. Like, I successfully drank at Henry's.
Success.
Yeah, I mean, but that's just like a sort of general problem with language, though. It's not even like related to like success as a concept. That's just like more of a language issue.
Yeah. Fuck, we're gonna go down a semiotics tip.
Yes.
Don't start.
This is
us
also
on
what we do. This is also what we do
Well, I
all the
think that-
time.
Yeah,
So
this
if this is the ending note, fuck, that's the
No, I think that it's a lot of, again, just the words and the weight that you choose to place on those words or concepts, I think really affects a lot of things.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to weather in the sense of people that are like, oh, it's so hot out. It's going to be hot out. I'm just going to be miserable all day. Well, if you leave the house telling yourself you're going to be miserable all day, you're going to be
Always do.
miserable all day.
Or you could love the sweat.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that, I mean, in terms of like success, if it's one of those things where like success and the meaning of it in the back of your head, it is always attached to something that you don't see yourself ever achieving, you're never going to achieve it.
Sure. Yeah.
I was thinking about this, about the definition, and like, I guess my definition is also sufficiently vague. But I was just thinking comfort without complacency would be success.
Oh, interesting. I'll have to
Yeah.
marinate.
Well, it's like a little place to maybe to rest. Like
Yeah.
a place. It's not a state of
It's-
permanence.
It's like success is how long of a time frame you can go without thinking about the word success in your brain.
Yeah.
I like that too. Yeah.
That's fair,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
It's yeah. It's appropriately tautological.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Sorry.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very on brand for you.
Super on brand, dude.
Fuck's sake.
Oh yeah.
well, wrapping things up, we could sit here, we could chat about life, love, and the pursuit of happiness till the end of time, but we don't have that long. We only have 18% battery left on the camera, and we've been chatting for almost an hour and a half. So
Oh, damn.
I think we have successfully recorded a podcast.
We did it.
And
Right?
Tiny triumphs.
Yeah.
one more time
Tiny
before we wrap
victories.
everything up, Derider has an album release party at Spirit on August 30th.
Yeah.
And what else would you like to let the people know that might still be lurking around?
Oh, we're playing the Earns release show.
Yeah, we're playing the Earns release
August
show.
9th.
Oh, shout outs to them.
Yeah, shout out to
Yeah.
Earns.
They just sent me an email with a press kit, so maybe they'll be on the show soon. I don't
They've
know.
been real legit
Oh
lately.
my god, Rick on a podcast.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh.
Needs to
No,
happen.
that's gonna be
Yeah,
great.
no, make it happen.
Needs to happen.
I don't know these humans, so we'll see
Yeah.
how it
Damn.
goes.
Yeah.
I'm jealous of your time.
Yeah. But yeah, we're playing that release show with Earns and Swamp Walk. The Earns.
Oh, shout outs to Anna, friend
Yeah.
of the show.
Yeah, I
for sure.
love
Hell
it.
yeah.
The Earns record is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Check
heard
them
some
out.
tracks.
Yeah.
Cool.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
It's gonna dope.
Yeah.
It's a Howlers.
Yep. Howlers.
August 9th.
August 9th.
It's gonna be smoky.
Yeah.
Yo,
We're gonna howl at the moon.
I had who was in here? Oh, I had Los Vampiros Amarillos in here today earlier before you showed up, and they're doing a show at Howlers, and they talked to Mary Jo, and they're doing a non-smoking show at Howlers, and I was like,
The
I didn't even
whole-
know that was a
the
fucking.
Wait,
whole-
the whole bar.
Like at the bar?
I don't know. They just
Well,
said
you
they were
can't
doing.
smoke in the.
They just
in
said,
the
they said
other
that they
end, though.
requested it. They got no smoking.
Wow.
I don't know if I'm. I mean, they said it on the podcast, so I guess I could talk about it because it's
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
But yeah, they said that they
That's
were able to put non-smoking on the flyer.
That
for
must
the
be
show.
a new option with that awesome
Wow.
sign they have outside.
Ah.
Yeah.
And I was like, you could do that. And they were like, yeah. We
I
asked them,
wonder
they
if
wanna do
like,
it.
but like the fresh smoke masks the smell of the old smoke.
Oh, it might smell. It might smell worse than air. It's like,
That is a real possibility.
yeah.
For
You
sure.
just gotta light some incense.
There's only one way to find
yeah.
out. Go to the shows.
Yeah.
See what
Yeah.
happens, right?
Shit.
So let's do an outro and then let's get y'all the fuck out of here because I got to go to Target and get green socks. And that is all, folks. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. One more time, make some noise for my friends in Derider. Check out their album release, all that stuff. Find them on the internet, blah, blah, blah. I'll be back again in a couple days talking to some other people, same time. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Start the Beat 2019. Whoop, woo! Thanks for listening. Yeah. And that's it. Cool. That's
Oh
it.
man, thanks.
Yo, that was fucking fun as hell.
That was
Awesome,
really
man. I'm
fun.
glad you guys had fun. That was good time, actually.
Yeah.